Hello and welcome. It's wonderful to see you. I will be signing in Swiss German Sign Language, and we have our interpreter here, whose voice you will be hearing in English. Can you hear him well? Yeah? Does this sound okay? Perfect. All is good. You can see a video clip here. The video clip will describe what DIMA is. We are a school for deaf migrants, a nonprofit organization, and we have 23 staff members. Mostly of them are deaf, and we teach sign language users. Yes. We are a nonprofit organization, as I said, and our target group are immigrants who come to Switzerland from different backgrounds with sign language or without. Good. DIMA is a competence center for teaching. We teach different classes, mostly adults, and we also have different projects that we conduct. We make teaching materials, we develop it, we offer deaf interpretation, support systems, and we help deaf immigrants to integrate into Swiss society, deaf and hearing. We developed a sign language certificate that is aligned to CEFR levels. That was a big development project and a big success for us. Andreas Blaser will tell you more about the test itself later. This is what we are talking about today. I hope it will be interesting for you. I'm very happy that we are invited to this ALT conference to present our sign language certificates that is aligned to CEFR. You know that the migrants in our target groups are deaf and they come here to Switzerland and they have to learn a spoken language, which is very, very, very difficult for them. A lot of them, for example, come from Arabic countries. They grew up without going to any school, and they were helping on a farm. They were helping in various handiwork jobs and did not have a lot of communication. And now they have to learn a spoken language, which is very, very difficult. It is way more accessible for them to learn the local sign language. And we want to provide a sign language certificate so they can prove their sign language skills. So as we started our project, we wanted to develop a test for deaf adults. Initially, there were no such tests available. We looked in the whole of Europe if there was any test aligned to CEFR levels, if there was any research, any resources, there was nothing. Maybe as a side note, deaf kids, who went to a deaf school in Switzerland, in the history of Switzerland, sign language was forbidden. Nowadays, sign language is being fostered for deaf kids, but not for deaf adults. Initially, we were thinking about if we could take language tests for hearing migrants and adapt it to deaf migrants for our target group. Well, we realized that this would not work because the communicative scenarios are different. For hearing immigrants, they would talk to a neighbor, they would talk to have a phone call, spoken announcement in train stations, and we decided that we have to have a different test with different communicative scenarios, and it has to be visual with images and videos. So for the methodology, so these communicative scenarios could be reading a newspaper, hearing a train station announcement. We realized this is not the real life scenario that a deaf person will experience. So we said, okay, a person does not have to read a simple announcement in a newspaper, but understand a video message on a community website. The goal was to find scenarios that are in the everyday life of a deaf migrant in Switzerland. For example, as I said, a deaf migrant will not be able to use a phone call themselves, but they can use Videocom, a video relay service, phone interpreting service in Switzerland. They will be able to use that. The project team looked at all the CFR, at this book, this blue book, Gemeinsamer Europäischer Referenzrahmen für Sprachen. And we looked at all the descriptors. We cut them out, we copied them out, we discussed which descriptors to use, which one was best able to adapt to the deaf life, deaf experience, deaf culture. And we tried different descriptors because some of them so I'm going to show you an example on the next slide. You know that the CFR has 4 test components: reading, listening. We said you cannot read and listen to sign language, we will receive it, recept it. Writing, you cannot write a sign language, you will produce it. And you are also not able to speak a sign language, but you are able to conduct an interaction. So these were the 3 test components that we used and that I will explain in depth later. DIMA has luckily a lot of different students from different countries, so we were able to try out a lot of descriptors, which one fits well, what task format fits best, and we were able to try out and change, adapt as we went on. On interaction. So in that test itself, there will be 2 examiners. One of them will observe, the other one will conduct the test. And the examiner that will conduct the test will also lead an interaction. There will be a communicative, like a description of what to ask, what to do. It will involve saying your own name, using numbers, finger spelling, being able to express opinions. There's also a lot of different culture, like taboos and openness in different cultures. So we'll have to find a way to be able to make the candidates sign about the test tasks. On production. So that was an interesting part of the test. I will show you a short video. It is a video without language. It will just be pantomime and images that will give the candidate input to talk, to sign with the examiner. They will be needing to show CA, constructed action, so like a conversation between a child and an adult, where you will have to move your body. That is part of sign language grammar. And for migrants, that is sometimes not difficult. So the examiner will, we asked them first to sign into a phone camera, but some immigrants were not used to that and were like blocked. They could not sign naturally. So we decided that the examiner will be there as a recipient for their production. They will be able to nod, like, yes, I understood what he said, so that the signing will be more natural and fluent. For reception, we faced some challenges. We had to find out how to adapt the test to our target group. For example, if a deaf person comes from a country that is quite poor, that person never wrote, never learned how to use a table, never saw specific images, icons, languages, images, for example, from Arabian countries, they do not understand the icons that we think are mutually understandable. So we've had to find a way, like visual tools that will be understood by everybody in the world. Or we realized we have to introduce pre-tests so that our contestants could learn how a test works and what a table is, what icons are going to be used, what symbols are being used. This is a task example. So you can see this colleague of ours signing. She describes a way of walking. So you get out of the bus, you walk right, then you see this house that has a specific shape, and so on and so on. The candidate will have to watch a video and then draw the path. Another example will be to describe your own family tree. Like, okay, I'm at the bottom of the family tree. Above is my father and my mother, and above them is my grandmother, the one with the big hair that always wears a necklace. So the goal was, or another task will be to have images of different people and to see a description of a person, and then with a multiple choice, decide which person was being described. This is a different reception task. You can see our colleague signing, and then there is a multiple choice question. Which food was she talking about? What does she like? They will understand the question and then choose the appropriate food. These tasks are aimed to test reception. So it's a one-way communication without like back-channeling saying I understood or what did you say and so forth. That is a very interesting excerpt from a big table. So, there's like 4 main criteria to fulfill a task, to show appropriate vocabulary, to use linguistic accuracy, to properly use language, and to have appropriate communicative performance. With these main criteria, we realized that we have to weigh them because the CEFR has a lot, like an immense amount of descriptors, and we had to choose the appropriate ones. And then in the project team, we met once a week to calibrate, to discuss, to decide which descriptors to use. And we saw that the weighing is important. We also found a way to perfect the weighting so that it is appropriate. A next challenge was to find the benchmarks between the 3 levels of A1, AB, and A2 and B1 for all production, interaction, and reception. So the DIMA team, we also found outside experts, sign language researchers, or also hearing specialists who work in higher schools and universities. We found these external experts and discussed together how to find benchmarks, how to define scores to achieve a specific level. What does a candidate need to achieve, need to fulfill to achieve a specific level? It was not an easy discussion. And the result, these are our certificates. If our candidates achieve the test, they will get these certificates. On the left, you can see this 2-page document that describes the CEFR levels. So if our candidates will look for work, they can hand in their certificates to their boss, and this person will be able to read and learn about the CEFR levels and also understand what the job applicant is able to use as on a communicative level. Now to the results and future plans. We were able to develop a valid test format that will reliably capture participants' language proficiency. That has not been done in Europe before. The thing is that not everybody who comes to Switzerland comes to DIMA, to the School for Deaf Immigrants. Some will only come for us for sign language certificates. And it will be good as a future plan to build online preparation materials for these students that did not become students of DIMA. Important as well for interaction was we realized that our students need to not only lead a dialogue, but also see a dialogue between two other people and understand what they are signing about. So we would like to extend our interaction tasks to include dialogical formats. And of course, we are working towards getting the ALTEQ mark. One important information, why I am signing and why we are using an interpreter. So sign language can transport the same meaning as spoken language, but sometimes it is difficult for the interpreter to speak as fast as sign language can go. This is why sometimes I have to wait for the interpreter, as you can see now. Perfect. Thank you very much for your attention. If you're interested to contact us, please use the website and email you can see here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Are there any questions? Yes, please. So Sasha, the interpreter, will stay for voicing.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, please.
You said that sign language cannot be written, of course. So I asked myself if there is also a written component from like the German language in this test, or if it's only sign language. Because immigrants probably also have to read written language. So is it the only test immigrants take, or is there another component also?
No, we were focusing on sign language alone because I need to say sign language is a fully fledged language. It has its own grammar, structure, and so on. We need to use these grammatical elements as well when we are signing correctly. And it is difficult to find it. There is no written form of sign language. So migrants that come to Switzerland, they learn two languages at the same time, the Swiss German Sign Language and Roten German at the same time. But to test the German language, that will need another form again.
Thank you, and thank you for a very interesting presentation. Now, my question is about the use of the test. And my question is from a Norwegian context where there's been a discussion about the use of the Norwegian Sign Language test as a path to fulfilling, for example, the requirement for citizenship. So if it should be used as an equal test to fulfill the requirement, or if deaf migrants should rather be exempt from the requirements based on, for example, disability regulations. And arguments in forward of an exemption is, as you were saying, additional challenges such as high likelihood of lack of schooling, language deprivation, challenges of learning resources, and so on. And then arguments in favor of having these tests as equal paths to legal requirements have been mainly that it would be then lead to increased funding and maybe a higher status for the test, which would lead to more resources and more deaf migrants coming to school. So has there been a discussion about the use and the political use of this particular test or not in the Swiss context? And what are your opinions?
Maybe I can have Leonie answer this question. She is our project manager.
Well, in Switzerland, deaf people don't have to take a German test to get the citizenship. They are exempt of these tests. And the sign language test, well, it's so new that we have these tests, and it's not an issue yet. Maybe in the future we will see. Yeah, it's a bit too early to say that.
Thank you, Leonie. Yes, please.
So first of all, thanks a lot for this presentation. It's an amazing work you presented. And I agree with most things that have been said here, that there is lack of public material available. You're doing an amazing job. You talked about problems we have with smaller communities in coping with testing requirements. I would like to know if you are striving to make these materials available and share your experience even in English maybe, or even better, signed.
Yes, yeah. I can say something to this. So how does the CEFR work? How did we decide on weighing? Yes, I can gladly tell you more about this. So we did not use English language because we are situated in a German part of Switzerland. In Switzerland, there are 3 different sign languages. So I can gladly give you our project details, but they will be in German. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you for the interesting presentation. I don't know, maybe I missed it. Was there an interactive component to the test? So where they chat, where they sign with other people, or is it just?
Yes, yes, yes. So for interaction, there is a document that clearly indicates what will be talked about in the exam. What is your name? We will test numbers and so forth. An examiner, one examiner will lead this talk, and the other will only look at it. And in the future, we would like to have additionally a dialect that the candidate can look and try to understand what 2 people talk to each other.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. I would like to say a big thank you to our team. It was a wonderful project team with Andreas, with Pauline, Leonie, and all the other team members that helped develop this test. And I hope it will be a good process for the future. Thank you so much for your attention. Have a wonderful day.